What's going on, Hoof listeners? Welcome back to Thursday evening as Anthony and I get you ready for the matchup with the Tennessee Titans on Sunday.
Let's go, baby.
Finally, a 1 o'clock game.
Yeah. I know a lot of people going to this one, actually, and I was thinking about getting last-minute tickets. Still considering, haven't talked to the wife about that yet, but, this would be a good game to go to. It's got the normal 1 o'clock time. Bills are favored to win by a significant amount, so hopefully should be a good game to be at. Still, the weather's still good, right? So it's favorable for those in attendance, but I haven't secured tickets quite yet.
Yeah, and I think if you're looking at the Bills' schedule and you don't want to have a bad time, right? If you're going to go to the game, pay all that money, standing on those lines, you don't want to have a bad time. So I feel like this game of all games on the schedule is likely the safest bet where the Bills will win and win big. Right?
Should, yeah. Absolutely, yeah. So the games you want to go to, this checks all those boxes, right?
Right.
Like, yeah, you're ready to go.
But I don't know. We've been Bills fans for a long time, been to dozens and dozens of games. Is that always the best option to go watch a blowout? I mean, it's fun. It's the crowd's usually more energetic in those type of games. I remember last year I went, I think it was the Commanders. Safe bet. The Raiders last year, kind of a safe bet. Home game. Bills won by, 20?
Yeah, it's still I like the more competitive. So this year, the games, I went to the Miami game in Miami. We knew that one was going to be competitive, or at least we thought it was going to be. And then the next game I have tickets for is Kansas City in Buffalo, right? So that's going to be a competitive game no matter what, right? So,
but you could leave disappointed when you compound
exactly
10 beers with a devastating loss. It's like extra sad. You're down for days. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's funny because you say that, and I saw a top 10 list of beer drinking organizations in the NFL. The Buffalo Bills were number 2 at 7.4 drinks per person or something per NFL game. And the one above us was actually the Bengals, which I thought was surprising. So, I was surprised by that. But, yeah, beer drinking and, devastating loss.
What was the number again?
Especially when you got to drive 3 hours back, in my case, Syracuse. Right. That's not fun. And get out of traffic.
Yeah, it's not like a downtown stadium where a lot of people can just walk to the hotel or walk home. Yeah. The Bills, you have to drive. And for a lot of people, I think it's drive far. Whether you're from Toronto, Rochester, Syracuse, it's quite a commute, right? What was that number for drinks again?
7.4
7.4
beverages per person. I think per alcohol drinker. Yeah.
That's about $80. $80 a person, right?
Well, I don't know. I think that's the day of the game. So I think they're taking into tailgating into that.
Okay.
So
okay.
yeah,
So
it's not just at the stadium. No, that would be insane. We'd be the richest franchise.
Yeah, I mean, anybody checked that though? I mean,
yeah, because the beers are $20 a piece inside. That's nuts.
Right. Maybe they don't do this anymore because I think last time I went, I haven't seen this, but they're selling beer on a table made out of 30 packs of Busch Light and Busch, and they're selling Busch cans. So you're like, I know what these cost in the store, and you're charging me $8 for one of these.
Yeah.
And like you're planning on selling all of these. You're definitely rolling in the dough.
That's how they make their money. Yeah. It used to be run by like, I don't know, the college organizations and things that would get money from each booth, but I don't think that's the case anymore either. The NFL has monetized everything, so they get a chunk for sure, and it's part of the shared revenue and all that good stuff.
Right.
So,
but yeah, back to you're going to the Kansas City game. I used to go to all the Patriots games. This is before Josh Allen, when the Bills were in the drought. Because you wanted to be there for, when they won in 2011, they tore down the goal post. The crowd was nuts. City was wild for like a day. I wanted to experience that. So I went to probably 5-6 years in a row. I went to the Patriots game in Buffalo, and they lost all of them. So
Yeah,
like,
right. It stinks when it's that bad,
yeah, it
for
was
sure.
bad, and they were close a lot of times, but just came up short every time. So it was pretty devastating, right? So I'll never do that again. So I think the Kansas City game I avoid. I don't go to that anymore.
But even in losses,
I don't want to.
looking back in the moment, it really sucks. But looking back, I've never said like, "Oh, I wish I didn't go to that game," or "I wish I didn't pay for
Mhm.
that game," even when we lose. So, I enjoy the experience either way. Maybe not in the moment when we lose for sure, because that is the worst. But, yeah, I mean, afterwards, you put it in perspective. You're like, "Hey, we had a good time. We tailgated. I saw my friends. That's what it's all
Mhm.
about." So,
Right.
have fun. But leading into this game, though, this is that type of game where we as fans can be distracted in the parking lot, but the team has got to be focused because you can't overlook the Titans just because they're the next easy game on the schedule comparatively. And it's at home. You really have to put in the work, be prepared, and be ready to go. Which I fully expect the team will be. So
Yeah. Yeah.
don't let it be a trap game after the big win against the Jets on Monday Night Football.
Right.
Even though that was a hell of a game as well, but
Right. It's been a crazy week, like from Monday to today,
absolutely right.
Thursday. It's been such a wild week for the Bills
The
because
trade.
you were so close to letting the Jets in some freak plays, by the way. So first, the penalties, horrible, unwatchable. NFL's
Yeah,
got to fix this. It's unacceptable as a fan to watch a
agreed.
game like that. Unacceptable. Um, and then like the Hail Mary, just the freak plays that happened. Bass missing easy kicks, missing the extra point. It just felt like one of those games that the Bills, no matter what they do, they're going to lose this game. That's what
Mhm,
it felt like.
mhm.
Rodgers was moving the ball up and down the field. It felt great, or it felt like the Bills were going to lose. Felt bad as a Bills fan because you're watching Josh just like make wild, crazy plays, but you just felt like it wasn't going to be enough.
Right, we've seen games like that enough in the past where no matter where as a Bills fan, if you've been a Bills fan long enough, you get that feeling in your gut where you're like, "God, this game is not going our way," and even though, like you said, we seem to be playing fairly well, just the penalties and the flukeness of some of the things that were going on. I mean, that game was I said afterwards, even though it wasn't the, 3-6 game against Cleveland or whatever, this was one of the worst football games I've ever
Yeah,
watched because it was just every single play, flags and this and that, and you couldn't just play football. Like, just get the game.
right,
And we were
right.
10 times better than that team, I thought, on the field that day.
Yeah, I thought I
Like,
was
you
going
can
to
say
like
what you want, but
third quarter. I was just thinking like one thing I'm going to say this week on the show is the Bills outplayed the Jets because
yeah,
I
we
was
were
kind of
way
expecting
better
them
than
to
them.
lose at
Yeah.
that point. But anyway, you're that close to letting the Jets take the lead in the division. Bills are now 3-3. You lost 3 road games in a row, and those conversations would be happening, right?
Oh, yeah.
Um, but yeah, they find a way to get it done. So that was a huge relief, right? But I think everyone was still kind of concerned about the receivers in particular from that game,
Mhm.
just because it doesn't feel smooth. You know what I mean? It feels like it's really hard to get the passing game going, which I think
And
is true.
I think that's also highlighted by the fact that the run game is doing so well, right? When your
Mhm.
run game is doing that well, you'd expect that the pass game becomes easier. But like you said, even just watching it, it seemed more labor intensive than it should be, right? It wasn't that smooth, like,
Right,
Cole Beasley days of, this is going to happen. He's
right,
going to throw it to him and we're going to get 10 yards kind of thing. Yeah. And it's certainly, Khalil Shakir still dealing with the injury and, other guys got banged up in this game. But agreed that it was a glaring between the last 2 weeks, especially, but really three, the wide receiver situation has been, um, made more obvious, I think, and
right.
certainly, like, we should have made a move, which obviously they did this week,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. Right. And we were talking last week how, it looks like Keon Coleman's the guy you got to turn to, right? He's the only guy week in, week out making some sort of plays at receiver. This was Shakir was out, right?
Yeah, mhm,
Um, so he's coming back. Maybe I think he was limping a little bit during the game last week, didn't have a ton of targets. But again, it seemed like Keon Coleman's the guy you're gonna have to turn to way too early. I think everyone would agree it's way too early to turn to him. He's kind of you want him to develop for a long time, and then I think he'll turn into something down the road.
exactly,
So
yes.
then, yeah, so then the Bills make the move for Amari Cooper, which was great news. Really, it was also a relief because you knew it was in the works, right? And my big question is like, was this planned all along? We know
Yeah,
Bean likes the. Did he have this in his back pocket? Like, oh, we have a lot of picks this year. We don't have to overspend in free agency. You can always find a bargain. In season, right? This is how they brought Diggs on, and now they bring in Cooper, who I think really helps them on the outside, which I mean they desperately needed at this point. What's your
ex-
thoughts on Cooper?
exactly. I mean, Bean did say that it was in the works for days, right? That they had already planned to make this move, and were already the Browns were just uncertain of if they were ready to move on from Cooper.
Mhm.
And after the Browns lost, that escalated things, and then boom, it happened quickly after that.
And why do
Um,
you think they moved on from Cooper?
I mean, it was just his frustration there, right? I mean, he
Yeah,
was frustrated working with Deshaun Watson, although there's been talks of this since before the season started with Cooper. And obviously, Cleveland made that contract restructure with the idea of saying, this is going to help us get leverage for trading him, right? They knew they wanted to trade him.
right,
They tried in the preseason, but they obviously weren't getting what they wanted for him. Then they reworked his contract. They took the brunt of the money and said, well, now at least we'll raise the value of what we could potentially get for him. And they did, right? So I think both sides were happy with the deal. I mean, the Browns got what they got, and the Bills end up with a player who can be, an X factor moving forward, quite literally, if you talk about X receiver. But, in the game, that just having somebody who's a proven 1,000-yard guy, like just catches, the ball
right,
and makes plays. So impactful move for both sides, I thought. And the
right.
compensation made sense to me. People were
Oh
complaining
yeah,
about the compensation, a third round pick, but they clearly don't understand how this works, right? I mean, yeah, we swapped pick, we got a 6, we gave
right.
them a third and a 7th, but we're
Mhm.
already going to get, if he signs elsewhere for whatever you'd expect him to get, 10 million a year for 3 years, that's probably a 4th round minimum pick for the Bills. So
Mhm.
really, you traded a third and a 7th for a 4th and a 6th, and you get Amari Cooper, a
Right.
3-time Pro Bowler, 1,000-yard receiver guy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no brainer.
yeah,
Because I think you already have
all
2
day.
2s,
Yep.
and
Mhm.
they will have 3 4s now, right? They already had 2 4s.
2 4s, right? If the comp pick ends up being a 4, yes.
Right, so that clearly the 2 2s alone covers the 3, in my opinion. Like, it's a no-brainer,
Mhm.
especially because you're now a competitive team. You have a large lead, with 2-game lead in the division here early, right? That plays a factor. Okay, we're gonna have a high seed.
Yeah.
It feels like, right? The AFC East has fallen off. Miami's no longer a threat. The Jets, I mean, you beat them, right? So that's huge. And New England's, they don't seem to be a threat. So it's almost like the AFC East now becomes one of the weakest divisions in football, which I think surprised a lot of people. But here early, that's what it looks like.
That's true, yeah,
So,
I mean, the path forward, even with the Jets getting, their guy, I mean,
right. Jets
yes,
will still be competitive, but
they're
you
gonna
got
be
to win, you
but
know?
but come on, now they've gotta dig themselves out of a hole, and I'm sorry, but wide receiver wasn't their biggest problem, right? It's offensive line, it's Aaron Rodgers' inconsistent play, uh, you know, it's it's a lot of things for that team. The defensive line, they just changed coaches. They got the 1 game bump, but what's it going to be moving forward now, organization wise? Who's going to call the plays? Because Nate Hackett. I mean, they've got so much going on there. I've said it all along. The Jets are a dumpster fire, and they're the biggest competition right now because the Dolphins are uncertain of their quarterback position, right? And even if Tua comes back, the expectations there are minimum at best, right? We're not expecting Tua to come back and go on an 8-game win streak or anything, right? So that's takes them kind of out of contention too. And the Patriots are the Patriots rebuilding, not really in it at
Right.
all this year.
Ride the
So
rookie. Right.
the
Yeah. So
path
Bills are
becomes clearer,
right.
definitely.
So Bills are in a much better position. And now you add Cooper. I mean, now it's like, okay, this team can go somewhere. There's suddenly depth at receiver, it feels like.
Hmm.
That one piece you're missing, they're getting a lot of cover one looks. I think they expected to get a lot of, 2-man shell, deep cover two. Saw a lot of that last year. So they went out and got big receivers to play in the zone, right? Find those gaps in the zone, and that the team's good at that, right? But then defenses switched to cover one, and they've been playing cover one versus the Bills the past 3 weeks, just because you don't have somebody on the outside that scares them. that
Right.
suddenly changes, right? So now
Exactly.
are we gonna see cover 2 shell again? Or, you know, are you gonna continue to try to cover 1 and you just take shots at Cooper?
Right.
You know?
And in our group chat, we talked about this, and I mentioned this, but I think it's gonna be, like any player, you have to work them in little by little, right? I think day one, you put Amari Cooper in where Matt Collins was basically in the lineup, playing that playing a number of snaps. Immediate upgrade automatically from what was with Matt Collins, right? You're immediately upgrading just in terms of talent. No disrespect to Matt Collins, but we know what he is. He's a fourth, fifth wide receiver who is a good special teams player, great
Oh,
guy
good
to
in the
have
red
on the
zone.
team.
Great in the
Yeah.
red zone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Exactly. So great. We love you, Matt Collins. No disrespect, but Amari Cooper is a big upgrade there. And you've got that immediately. Just put him in, give him the same plays, tell him to run the same routes, and throw. Now you design plays as you get to know the player, as he knows the system. You work those in, so the next 2-3 weeks, now you're like, oh, this is what we can do. And now he's got more chemistry with Allen, right? You just start designing plays, implementing things, and then by the end of the season, he's going to be one of the go-to guys in the system, like you were saying. It's just good to have that reliability, which is also going to open things up for the other guys too, right? I mean,
Right, right.
Kincaid's been covered nonstop. We've seen that. He's basically been the number one target of the defense. Well, now Amari Cooper's going to be that guy, and then Kincaid's going to get more options. Shakir's going to get more passes, more open looks at least. So yeah, he's gonna have a slow but steady impact, I think, on this offense. And what a
Mhm.
better way to have your first game than in one where the Bills were already pretty big favorite to win at home. This is only going to be, make it easier to have that transition, I think. It's
Yeah, I
not a
agree,
big
and
division rival game
yeah,
where it's a must win or something, throwing him
right,
in.
and Amari Cooper been in the league 10 years. Well, he's 30. Um, I don't think he's blowing the top off, anymore. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
there's a lot of fast corners out there, but man, his route running it's still up there, right? And
Hmm.
that's really what you
Hmm.
get him for. And you think about, Stephon Diggs, it was kind of his way of playing too. It wasn't like he's running, deep routes every single time. It's just route running ability. So I think you do feel some of that gap with Amari Cooper, right? So it's exciting, right? And we'll see if he resigns, but that's down the road. Those are conversations down the road. Um, but what do you think for this week versus the Titans? Do we see Amari Cooper, and what do you think the Bills can do with him?
Yes, I do think we see Cooper. And again, I think they're not going to overcomplicate it for this first week. He might play minimum number of snaps. Again, kind of plug and play for Matt Collins. If you think about, okay, Matt Collins plays what, 30% of snaps maybe, then Amari Cooper will play 30% of snaps this week. Ultimately, you want to get him way more than that, but it's his first week. You're just getting him some action. You want him to feel comfortable out there with this team, with these players, with Josh Allen especially. And yeah, work him in. Let him do his thing. He's a football player. He knows what he's doing. He's experienced. Get him on the field. Tell him to run the route. He'll know what to do.
Mhm.
They might have to explain it to him in the huddle a little more because he might
Right,
not
right.
memorize the entire playbook. Although
Which you
from
can
what I've
do.
heard,
Yeah.
he's done that pretty well over the years. And this isn't his first time being traded to a new team, so he knows that routine too. I got to get to know the guys, the coaches, the everything, the organization, but I'm focused on what I do on the field. So, that part of it, I think he's already hit the ground running for. The only issue I could see is, well, it's 3 days to game day, right? Friday, Saturday, Sunday, basically, including today. He got there yesterday, so today's his real first practice. That's not a lot of time
Right,
to get onboarded, but put him in, right? We know he's better than what we got, so put him in there and
right.
let's at least let him, even if the play isn't designed to go to him, let him run
Right.
it and get open and get some coverage and lead to something else.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm not sure how the NFL does this, but I mean, he's coming off another team. He should be able to get the routine pretty quick. I mean, it depends how different they are. I'm sure they're not too different as far as, installing a game plan, learning the game plan. But I think you give him like what, 6 to 8 routes and
Exactly.
you call the play, then Josh will call this route for him
Yep.
separately,
Yep.
right?
Hmm.
Because I think just having Amari Cooper on the field makes the defense think a little harder, right?
Exactly.
Will they have chemistry? Probably not. Will he get a lot of targets? Probably not. but just putting him on the field, I think, it's a threat. It's a
Sure, and
deep
if the
threat that I
Bills
think
end up having, a 20-point lead into the third quarter, then you can play around a little, right? Yeah, call it. Force the ball to him. Why not? You got a 20-point lead, force the ball to him a couple times and see if you get that going, And I don't mean throw it into double coverage. I mean, call plays that are designed to go to him
Mhm.
and then, see
Right.
how it works out. So,
Yeah, and we know Josh, if Amari Cooper's running deep routes, he'll throw it to him anyway. He don't give a
yeah,
shit who's down there.
that's right.
Ray Davis, Tyler Bass,
Somebody's
it
out
doesn't
there.
matter. Doesn't
Listen, that
matter.
Ray Davis catch from the Jets game was
Yeah,
my favorite play of the game
that
because
was
Ray
amazing,
Davis is out there throwing his arms up. I'm open. I'm open.
yeah.
And Josh slings it to him and he dives and makes the catch. And
Yeah,
that was better than some of our receivers have done this year. So I was
right.
pretty happy about that
Yeah,
play.
that
That
was
was
so
my
funny.
favorite play of the game.
Just a wild play. I mean, Josh Allen's crazy
Yeah,
with
just
those type
nuts.
of things. But yeah, so Ray Davis, I mean, emerged last week, fair to say.
Mhm.
Yeah, I thought he had a great game for
Huge.
was 5th week, 6th week in the NFL. Um, and it's not like this guy's a first round pick, but I mean, he had a ton of production in college. I think Brandon Beane always talks about his high character, fits in the locker room, got a chip on his shoulder, stuff you like. But man, he looked really good last week. So I think he's definitely going to get more touches. And I think the James Cook, Ray Davis 1-2 punch, I think is something real. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I
Yeah. And
think
I think
they're different enough, but also they're both effective from what they've shown so far that I think it works. So
right, that
how much
power
does
runner.
how much does Ray Davis cut into James Cook's touches?
I don't know. James Cook, remember, is injured. That's why Ray
Mhm.
Davis got the snaps he did in this game, the Jets game. I think now he's earned a role, though, right? He's your number 2 now, I think, without a doubt. Ty Johnson does a great job for us. I love what he is, but I'll gladly take him as the 3 and Ray Davis is the 2 because they're so complementary. Like you said, Ray Davis is just runs right into contact and so physical. You love how he plays. It's just a breath of fresh air when he's on the field. You feel like, yeah, let's do it. Let's hit each other in the pads and get some yardage. Um, but his effectiveness, I think, has warranted him a number 2 role. And I actually think this week against the Titans, as James Cook is working back, you might kind of see a rotation, right? Okay, James Cook gets this drive and then Ray Davis gets the next drive, or James Cook gets 3 plays and we take him out and Ray Davis gets 3 plays and then so forth. Because Cook is working back from injury, I don't think they're going to want to just throw him out there and be like, do your typical what we were doing this year, 20 carries a game and see what happens, right? So I think that does mean Ray Davis still is productive in this game and maybe gets a touchdown, maybe gets, some chunk yardage in there,
Mhm.
both fantasy value wise and in game wise. He's valuable. You got to use him.
Yeah, I agree. And this Tennessee defense is stout, right? The defensive line in particular, they're stout defense.
Mm-hmm.
Justin Simmons, believe he's healthy, and Tre'Davious Sweat.
Yeah,
I mean,
Sweat is
those are some
good young player.
big people on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
That tandem, it's going to be difficult to run up in the middle, I think. So looking for off tackle, things like that. James Cook's the better option for that type of stuff. So we'll see if Ray Davis gets his touches, if they find a way to block, Justin Simmons and Sweat. But again, I think that's definitely a factor. Like those Ray Davis plays they were running last week might be a little more challenging. But again, I mean, Quentin Williams is with the Jets, so I mean, and there was working. So I guess it really just depends on what, who wins those matchups on the lines.
Right, right. And they're going to, they're going to use both, I think, situationally and, rotationally. Again, maybe they give Cook the workload. If Cook looks good, they like with Ray Davis, this Jets game, right? Ty Johnson got the first carry of the game and got 8 yards. But when they put in Ray Davis, it was just a different level, and you could tell that the energy was there. So they rode him, right? They gave him the
Mhm.
majority of the touches. I think Ty Johnson only got like 4 touches in the game, was productive with them, but you still went with Ray Davis. I think the same could go for James Cook in this situation. If he truly is back and healthy and he looks good out there, you're not just going to force in Ray Davis. You're just going to work him in when you need to and let him do his thing too. And maybe that keeps him fresh and lets him break some away too. Um, it's amazing to me that we're talking this long about the Bills' run game under Josh Allen, because this is the best we've had, I think, under Josh Allen in terms of a 1-2 punch that can truly be taking over a game, and you could hand it off to them and fully take the burden off of Josh Allen's shoulders. And it didn't cost us a first round pick of one of these overrated guys that are on other teams not looking so hot anymore. So that's what I like to see. We're getting value out of that position. Ray Davis, a fourth round pick. I mean, that's phenomenal right now.
Right. It's definitely a big factor, and it'll be a big factor in the playoffs, in my opinion. Thinking of the Chiefs, I mean, they've gotten away from their deep pass game for a number of years. It's Pacheco, it's whoever they plug and play running back for them, and also Baltimore too. Like with Derrick Henry, that's a big threat in the playoffs. But I think you have to be very balanced to win playoff games. I feel like. All right, here we go. Tennessee Titans. Who scares you on the Titans offense? Anyone at all?
DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, that's
Calvin Ridley. I mean, those are real players.
Because exactly, they are legitimate deep ball threats and can catch a ball. They're real dudes in the NFL, right? You got to keep your eye on them. But the problem is the quarterback has not been playing up to par, right?
Right.
And I trust our backfield, right? Now they're going up against two corners who have been so physical and so good this year. It's going to be, even if they are on the field and playing their best, it's going to be tough for them and for Will Levis, with what he's done this year, limiting them to what they're capable of, So, I mean, those immediately, there's still, people want to overlook Hopkins and say like, yeah, he's washed up. No, he's still a dude in this NFL. And like you said, Ridley, although he's more of a use him the right way back, right? Hopkins, to me, you could put him anywhere on the field, throw it to him anywhere on the field. He's dangerous, right? Calvin Ridley at this point in his career, I think you have to use him the right way, let him run routes that are designed to get him beating the man coverage and getting open and yak, right? Yards after catch for him. So those two are certainly a threat, which is why at the beginning of the year, I said you can't overlook this game. And, they also have a decent run game, but Tyjae Spears is injured, right? I don't know, Pollard's back to full health.
Yeah, he's
so
playing.
He's off the
good.
injured report.
I have him in fantasy. Yeah, he's doing well. So he's a threat. He's a guy who's played at the highest level. I like Tony Pollard. I mean, and I thought they would kind of want to fill some of that Derrick Henry role in Tennessee with him in a different way, obviously, but you can't just put it all on Will Levis. He's not ready for that. So you have to have some sort of running game. So I think those two are definitely a threat. And really, like you said, I think and everyone knows this, it's Will Levis, not taking that jump from the rookie year to the sophomore year, right? Haven't seen that yet. John Robert, Will Levis has 7 interceptions. We know there's 31st in average passing yards with Will Levis.
He's got fumbles, those dumb plays he made on the
report this week with Calvin Ridley being frustrated. 0 catches on 8 targets last week. Career low in receiving yards per game for him. Look, without a quarterback, you're nothing. This is a great receiving core. You could do a lot with Hopkins and Ridley. And even Pollard, who's a great receiving back. I mean, there's a lot to like here, but it's Will Levis kind of not getting the job done is what it seems like, right?
Yeah,
I know he had an injury too, right? One of the weeks.
Right. And they also added Tyler Boyd, don't forget, right? Like that was another player who is
Bill's legend.
He's Tyler older, Boyd. But exactly, right? but he's still good enough to if that's your top 3, that's a legitimate top 3. You're talking could be one of the best 3 in all of football, at least in the top 5, right? And yet production wise, they are at the bottom of the league because, like you said, without the quarterback, you can't produce, and that's where it all starts. So I think the Bills' game plan has to reflect that. You let your defense, you let your coverage guys do their thing. Don't try to get fancy with the double coverage or whatever and attack the quarterback because he's the weakness, right? That's what's holding that team back. And ultimately, I would want to just play your game and let him mess up rather than try to scheme for their best players and turn it into we shut down Calvin Ridley, but D-Hop made a few big plays, So 0 for 8 is a rough, man. Ridley last week.
Right.
On 8 targets, but they were not, it's not like he was dropping balls or missing things. It was just not good play.
I think with the reports out of Tennessee, Ridley's frustrated. That's the big story down there this week.
Mhm.
And so that puts pressure on Will Levis, and the pressure should be on them, and also puts pressure on the head coach, right? New
Absolutely.
coach coming in
Yeah.
this year, and you're 1-5. I think people were pretty excited about Will Levis taking a step. He showed some moxie last year, made some nice plays here and there. I still think you see a little bit of that, but it's just the consistency, right? And Josh Allen struggled with that his first 2 years. You know what I mean? It takes a while to get that out. You start realizing you can't succeed playing this way. And to Josh's credit, though, he was such an athlete, he could overcome that stuff. Think of the
Mhm.
Vikings game early on. He could using his legs and just overcoming some of the crazy play or inconsistent play. But I don't see that with Will Levis, right? So I think that's the challenge. And then you're coming up to Buffalo and you're playing a defense who's going to be motivated. I mean, they've put together a string of good games. And with Benford back, not Benford, Bernard back, and Taron Johnson, huge difference.
Oh man, it's good to have those guys back in the
Right,
lineup. That's for sure.
right. Because I mean, you go
Yes.
back to the Texans. I mean, the Bills had no business being in that game. Defense kept them in the game, right? The
Mhm.
Jets, same idea. Fluke play here, fluke play there, but the defense stepped up ultimately. You notice the presence of Taron Johnson in Bernard, right?
Right.
So I think that
Absolutely.
carries over here. It's going to be super difficult for Will Levis, the crowd noise, and you're watching Josh Allen on the other side, and you're going to want to make some plays, and it's just I feel like there's going to be a couple turnovers here from Will Levis that ultimately will give the Bills the win.
Yeah, I think I'm in that same boat with you that, again, you let Will Levis make the mistakes that he's been making. You play your game. Their defense is good. Their defense is stout. It's not like you're going to go out there and, it's I equate it similar to kind of the Jets where they're a good defense, but they're not great. It's not like they're shutting everybody down or something. There's yardage and points and plays to be had there, right? And I think that you mix it up well and you design up, the play calls, the schemes, the game plan, if you will, to reflect that, right? You can't. This isn't a team where it's like, oh, their weakness is the run, so we're going to pound it 8 plays out of 10 like we did, in the last game or something. No, this game you've got to work it and expect that you're going to have a few punts and have to take advantage of field position. And I think our bigger advantage is on defense, where Will Levis is struggling. As long as we can keep their running backs in check, Tony Pollard especially, which again we've shown that we can. They do. It seems like once per game, it's typical that a running back's going to get a big play, whether it's a touchdown or a 50-yard run or whatever. Running back is one big play, skews all the numbers, and the rest of the time they're averaging 3 or less yards a carry, which is where you want to be, right? So, yeah, I expect more of that from this game, basically, and the defense to give us the advantage to when we get the ball back on offense, you capitalize and you score points. And, again, scoreboard wise, I could picture this being like 7-3, and then it's 14-6, and then it's 20-9, and it's like, okay, maybe they get a touchdown in there, but it's not going to be relevant by the
Right.
time the scoreboard reflects that.
Yeah, it feels like the Titans are going to be one dimensional. They can run the ball, and that can be a threat, but that's going to be the Bills' focus all week, I would assume.
Mhm.
But I think again, those reports out of Tennessee, it could go either way. The team could rally, they could develop a passing game just for 1 week, but I just don't think Will Levis has the arm talent to spread the ball around on this defense and the secondary, who loves to fly around. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
You know, Taylor Rapp making big plays last week. I think that carries over. And obviously, the outside corner's been playing well, but those receivers will definitely challenge them. But again, can the quarterback get the
Get
ball
it
to
to
him?
him,
And
even when they're
that's
beat. That's the
right,
thing. You're not going to beat them every play, but when you do, is the quarterback going to be able to find you? And we'll see if he's if this, I don't expect this to be the Will Levis turnaround game. You know what I mean? So
right,
it's not,
right, right.
it's,
Maybe next week.
yeah, right. Let them figure it out the next time.
Joey Hatch, what's up, Joey? And why did we bring in the kicker that's no better than the
Ah,
one we have? Yes.
that's a really good question. I mean,
What's his name again?
oh,
Vriska.
how to
Vriska?
pronounce it. Yeah, right.
Yeah, yeah. I shouldn't even try anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough one, but the point with that, we did bring in a kicker. I talked about this on the post game show this week after we beat the Jets. Like, yeah, everybody wants to call for Tyler Bass's head and like, we need a new kicker. Cut him now, send him home. Number one, we're already paying the guy, so they're going to be reluctant to do that anyway. Number two, nobody out there right now is going to do any better for you. So that's the problem.
Right.
All these guys who are available because they also suck, right? Like
Right.
not, there's no like phenomenal kicker out there.
Right. What do you like about him? He's got a big leg. You need a big
Yes,
leg
power.
to play in the wind in Buffalo, right?
Right.
It's a must-have. Accuracy,
Not so
good.
much. He's basically the same as Tyler Bass over the last 2 years, which is not great. But you have to bring in a kicker. I don't care who it was. You had to sign somebody to the practice squad to put the pressure on Tyler Bass. Just say,
Right.
look, we're not afraid to cut you if that's ultimately what it comes down to and you can't get the job done.
Right.
Because you could argue the wind and the block and whatever else
Right.
happened in the
Right.
last game and what's been going on. But excuses don't matter anymore. Just get it done when the opportunity is there
Right.
for you.
You need a backup plan because clearly Bass is in a funk, right?
Yes.
He has the worst accuracy rating in the league on kicks and then the worst extra point rating in the league. Right. That's
Which
not
is
good.
crazy. Do you remember when he made like his first 98 extra
Oh
points
no,
or
he's been
something
great
like
for
that?
us.
Yeah, like that's strange, right?
But this
Like,
happens to kickers, man. It just is what it is. There's only one Justin Tucker, and he's been in funks recently, right? Butker, he doesn't seem to miss. I'm not sure why, but I mean, this happens to kickers, right? So you have to have a backup plan in case it gets worse. You know what I mean?
yes.
You hope the guy in the practice squad will motivate Bass to kind of snap out of it, bring back some of that determination, right? Get back mentally straight. But if it doesn't go that way, what's the plan? You can't just ride that all year. If he continues to miss at a high rate,
Mhm.
you got to make the move, right?
Yeah, that's, best case scenario, Bass bounces back and we finally see him becoming himself again and having that confidence again. Both him having the confidence in himself and us having the confidence in him, because right now that's tough. I don't think Bills Mafia has confidence in Tyler Bass for good reason, but he's got to earn that back. And I think the way to do that is just go out there and be consistent, right? Make the 40-yarders, right? We don't need to go for 57-yarders to win the game, because even the great kickers, that's a tough kick. So,
Right.
if he misses that one, we can't be like, oh, he missed a game winner, we sucks. No,
Right.
that's a
Well, it
tough
feels like
situation. So,
he's good at those ones. It's more the 40-yarder where he struggles.
yeah, that's what I mean. You have to show that when you're just the gimmies, you got to give us,
Yeah.
right? That's the thing.
Yep.
Anything 50 or less, I expect you to make. If you miss it, I'm mad, right? Like, that's it.
Right. All right. Ready for our picks? I think that's covered all the
Yeah,
topics.
I mean, final score, I expect it to be like Bills 28,
Take a look.
Tennessee 9. I'll say they get 3 field goals.
Plus Tennessee plus 9
Mm,
at Buffalo. Yeah, I think I would take Bills. I think they win by double digits here.
they should at home. Again,
This is one I
the
feel good about. It is a
situation.
big spread, right? But this one I do feel good about. But again, the defense could give the Bills problems. Could be a low scoring game. We've seen that versus Tennessee in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it's a different team, but they can
Well,
make
even
plays. But these receivers are good.
right, you can't let them pounce on you. That's the thing. Don't
Yeah.
freaking leave guys wide open on freaking Hail Marys down the field. Because still can't defend that apparently. Anyway, still some PTSD
Yeah.
from the Jets game there.
Yeah, right. All right, yeah, we got Broncos, Saints.
It's on
Broncos
now.
up by 3. It's minus 2.5 for the Broncos.
Mm-hmm.
Who you picking in this one?
I picked the Broncos. I took them straight up to win and, minus, I think it was -3 at the start of the game, or maybe it was only minus 2.5. But yeah, I think New Orleans is dealing with everything hitting them at once, right? The quarterback's out. Then now you got Chris Olave's out, and now you just lost Rashid. What's his name? Yeah, sure, Shaheed. Thank you to this for the season. I mean, everything's not going your way. You still have Alvin Kamara; he's a playmaker, but now you're very one-dimensional, and I think that hurts. So I took the Denver Broncos for that reason.
Yeah, the Broncos are surprising because their offense really isn't the strong point, which everyone assumed. It's the defense has been playing
Yeah,
great. Pat
yeah,
Surtain in particular, they've been playing really good. So, yeah, I think the Broncos will pull this one off. Like you said, the Saints are just they seem to be in a big slump after starting hot. All right, Patriots +6 at the Jacksonville Jaguars. Both teams 1-5. Second game of 2 for the Jaguars in London.
yeah. I'm on the Jags all day with this for that reason, right? They stayed out there. New England had to travel there. The Jacksonville Jaguars are rested. They're used to it already. They're the better team in general if this was played in the states. So I do expect Jacksonville to pull out their second win against an inferior opponent who's playing a rookie quarterback. Although he did make a few plays in that first game, I think Jacksonville should definitely be the better team in this one and show
Yeah.
it. So I expect them to win by double digits, but the line being 6, yeah, definitely give me 7 points.
Yeah, and I think that's all NFL memes. This is the worst thing to happen to the UK since the Revolutionary War. Patriots Jaguars in London.
Yeah, 1-5, 1-5.
Yeah.
Wah, 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 wah.
So I thought that was funny, but this one's interesting to me. I like the Jacksonville Jaguars to win by 7. So I agree with you there. Just because they have that second game there. They've had time to acclimate to the time difference, right? Whereas the Patriots haven't. And what a start for a rookie quarterback. You play decent game, now you got to pack your stuff, go to London, and you're going to be jet lagged. It's going to be all crazy. So I like Jacksonville just for that reason. It's been historically they've won the second game, right? So I think it's an advantage.
Definitely, yeah.
All right, Lions, Vikings, Lions +1.5, going to the undefeated Sam Darnold led Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, this is an interesting one because even though it's in Minnesota, to me, Detroit is still the way better team, and Minnesota's undefeated. So I'm all over Detroit in this one. I think just offensively, defensively, the game they played last week, Minnesota has looked like they're starting to come back down to earth, but they've pulled out wins, right? So you can't count them out. But I think, with the points and straight up, I'm taking the Lions to win.
Oof.
I think they win by multiple, scores. So yeah,
This is
10 points
super
or more.
hard. This one's super hard to
It
call
is because it's in Minnesota. I mean, division
right,
rivals, right?
coming off a bye, right? Minnesota's coming off the bye. Aiden Hutchinson's out for the Lions. That's a huge loss for them. And then is Sam Darnold for real, or is this just like a fluke? Like, is he good for just a few games, or is this
Well,
for real?
watching the end of their last game, I'd say that he looked more like what I expected him to look like, a guy who's throwing it up to really good receivers and still making bonehead mistakes and not looking like a phenomenal quarterback or something. He's bringing him back down to earth for sure. I think. We'll see, though.
Right,
After the
right.
bye, they've had time to prep again. Yeah,
Yeah, and really, Detroit's strength is their running game. I'm not sure if Minnesota can match that. I know they brought in Cam Akers this week, but I don't think they can match that intensity. I just like the Detroit Lions. They just had that ground and pound attack is so dangerous with Montgomery and Gibbs. I think the Vikings struggle with that, so they have their first loss. Give me the Lions. All right. Texans at Packers. Texans +2.5 at the Green Bay Packers. How are we feeling?
This one is a tough one for me because I do think Green Bay can win the game at home. Will win the game at home, especially with Houston missing Nico Collins. I think it's going to be a close game, which makes me want to take the points for the Texans, but I'm going to go Green Bay in this one just because I think they win by a field goal. So the 2.5 isn't enough for me. If it were 3, I'd really think about taking Houston. But I do think Green Bay wins just because they're more on the rise in terms of their health and the direction they're going, whereas Houston is just trying to get through right now because they're without Nico Collins. They are getting their running backs back, so that'll be a good thing for them. But I do like that Green Bay defense, and Texans have looked vulnerable enough that I think Green Bay could take advantage of that.
Well, another huge factor for the Texans is Joe Mixon and Dameon Pierce are both healthy now.
Yeah.
That 1-2 punch, that's for real. But yeah, Green Bay, I think it's a home game for them. They can run the ball, right? And their receivers have been making plays. And Jordan Love is quietly, playing some really good football. There's turnovers in there as well, but if he can just get a couple points up, the Texans I don't think play well from behind. So I like Green Bay at home.
Mhm.
All right, Dolphins at the Colts. Miami's +3 at the Colts. Still no Tua, right?
No.
I haven't checked on him.
No, he's not returning yet.
Okay.
So, this game is a tough one to call. I like Miami's run game. Mostert is back. And Indy has been inconsistent. I actually think Indy looked better without Anthony Richardson out there. As sad as that sounds, they're definitely a different type of offense without Anthony Richardson, and I believe he's coming back for this game. So, this is a coin toss type of situation for me. So I think that being said, I'll take Miami with the points, but Indy to win. So it's going to be like a, 20-21 game or something like that.
Right.
So I'll take Indy with the straight up, but Miami with the points.
Yeah, and Indy, Anthony Richardson out, but Joe Flacco's been playing better, and Jonathan Taylor's back this week. I just think Miami, the way they've been playing, they're really no match for the Colts with Jonathan Taylor and Flacco, right?
If Flacco plays, I think Richardson's going to be coming back this week.
Oh, he's coming back. Okay.
Yeah. But still Miami's dynamic, really, two-headed really running backs now.
Yeah, I'll still take the Colts just because the Miami's been really bad.
Yeah.
No one's talking about that,
especially without Tua. Yeah, I mean, nothing. Those two wide receivers can't do anything with the other quarterbacks. We talked about it with Tennessee, same situation there.
Mm-hmm.
And, Indy, like you said, getting Taylor back, who's really their bell cow guy, and then that's going to open things up for Richardson to go on some runs and make the plays that are in front of him. Because I really like their pass catching weapons too. I mean, you got Pittman, questionable again with him, whether he's going to, be there, but then, Pierce and with the deep ball and who am I missing there? There's one other guy. They got good receivers, right?
A.D. Mitchell. Yeah.
Haven't heard much about him. The Colts have some good receivers and some good production there. So I like them to beat Miami for sure. But you like them to beat them by more than 3 points, you're saying?
Yeah. Just because Miami has no offense at all.
I like it. Yeah.
They beat the Patriots 15-10, but outside of that, I mean, it's been brutal.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Talked about the Bills. I think we're both picked the Bills.
Mm-hmm.
Seattle +3 at Atlanta. Good matchup.
Very good matchup, but the game is in Atlanta, and Atlanta has been, like I said, this rising team where they've seemed to overcome things, and now they're getting better. They're getting more, what's the word for it? Momentum. They're a well-oiled machine now. I think that they capitalize and get a big win here. Seattle's going to stay in the game, right? They're going to score some points. They're going to throw the ball around and run. But I like Atlanta to win by at least 4. So I think it's going to be that, 20-24 type score. It seems said I always go to the even numbers, but yeah, I like Atlanta to win this one by more than 3. So they're my NFC Championship team, and they've looked like it for the past few years or past few weeks.
Yeah.
Years.
I like the Seattle team, but I mean, when you're looking at Atlanta, it's like they're very similar, right? Good receivers, that both teams can run the ball. Both teams have been playing good defense this year, and the quarterbacks are also kind of similar. I would trust Kirk over Geno just a little bit, but I think Seattle finds a way to win this game. I think it'll be close.
Oh.
So I have Seattle 23-20. So it'd actually be a push, but yeah.
No, Seattle's getting 3, so they would. You're 26.
Oh, right, they would win. Yeah. They'd win, right?
So you're taking Seattle with the points and straight up.
Right. I just think it's gonna be a close game, so I'm playing the safe bet, taking Seattle.
There you go.
All right, Cincinnati Bengals at the Cleveland Browns. Cincinnati -5.5 at Cleveland.
Yeah, this one, Cleveland is reeling, right? Obviously, they trade away Amari Cooper. They've got 0 quarterback play there from Deshaun Watson, who they're paying hundreds of millions of dollars. And Cincinnati has been very slowly getting better week after week, although they've still been making bonehead mistakes to end games, it seems. Cleveland is getting Nick Chubb back, which I think will be big, but we don't know yet to what extent he's going to play, how many touches he's going to get, or if they're limiting him to a pitch count or whatever, or every other, series. So we'll see how that works out. I think that is a big X factor for them, just because when he's healthy, he's one of the best running backs in the league. But when you can game plan that he's all they got, because there's what do they got there for wide receivers now? Jerry Jeudy and that's it, right? Like I can't
A
name
lot of young
another.
guys. Right?
Yeah, right, exactly. So with a quarterback who's not playing up to par, it's one thing if Josh Allen's your quarterback, you can make those young guys look good, but not when Deshaun Watson not playing well is. Which, by the way, just brings back memories of 3-4 years ago when people were telling me that Deshaun Watson is better than Josh Allen and would have the better career than Josh Allen.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
right. Not
Yes.
happening. No.
Yeah, I
Put
remember
that to
that.
bed too. So
Yeah.
when I was screaming at people back then, yeah, kudos to me because that's, we see where we're at now. I didn't expect he would have this much of a fault from grace, but there's no way he was on Josh Allen's level.
Right.
So,
And I don't know
yeah,
who to blame. I know Watson's obviously not playing well, but every quarterback that's ever played in Cleveland has not played well.
that's right. This
It's like,
organization,
why does pizza in New York City taste different than the rest of the country? I just don't know. Why are quarterbacks bad in Cleveland? Like
it
I
just
don't think
happens.
there's a curse or something weird going on there because they've tried everybody, right? First overall picks, they've tried, free agents, veterans, right? It just doesn't work. So is it Deshaun or is it the Browns?
That's true. Watch him go to another team and turn back into his old self.
Right. One thing I noticed when I watch, he holds on to the ball way too much. He's always done that, right?
Yeah.
But that's a continuous problem. But anyway, we're off topic. I'm
Division
picking the
rival
Bengals.
game. Yeah, I'm taking the Bengals minus
Yep.
5.5. I think
Yep.
they win by at least a touchdown. Even if the defense plays well for Cleveland and they get Nick Chubb going, I think that Cincy is more consistent on offense, and that's ultimately what gets them the win there. More weapons on
Right.
offense too.
And here we come with Cincinnati, right? So they'll be 3-4, 500's
Yeah.
in sight, and then they're
All of a
probably gonna be a
sudden,
competitive team, right? It's just
yeah.
how they do business. All right, Eagles at the Giants. Eagles -3 going to New York.
Yeah, I really like the Eagles in this game. The Giants, we'll see if Malik Neighbors is back for this game. He was questionable for the last one, but even if he is, Philly's offense can have the ability to be dominant. They haven't shown that all year. This is probably one of their weakest opponents, their best matchups for what they do, both with Saquon Barkley returning, to the Giants and the Giants or the Eagles air attack. I think it's too much for the Giants to handle. The Giants had a great win, but I think Philly puts them more in the place where they belong here in this game. And so I like Philly a lot, especially with only a
Yeah,
3-point line.
agree. And Philly's just got all kinds of weapons. The Giants
Mhm.
cannot match that. They just simply can't. But man, how brutal is this game for the Giants fans, right? Saquon
Saquon.
Barkley, right? But you're also at home. Barkley's returning to MetLife, and then the Eagles are going to put you to 2-5, and they're going to 4-2. I mean, it's just brutal. It's brutal enough, right? I don't know if Joe Shane and Dable can survive this
Yeah, it's well, I mean, they'll survive this week, but I don't know if
this
they'll
week,
survive
right? But
much
I mean, like
longer.
this season, right?
Oh yeah.
Just because that Barkley deal, like, cool, you let him go. I think everyone understood why you let Barkley hit the market. You don't want to overpay for a running back.
Mhm,
But man, when he signs with Philly,
mhm.
that's the kicker. It's
Dagger.
just brutal, brutal. Anyway, Carolina Panthers +8 at the Washington Commanders.
Yeah, I mean, Commanders are one of the hottest teams in football, even off a loss, right? They lost to Philly, but they still look good in that game. If you ask me, I did get to watch most of that one, and um, I like Washington here, obviously to win, but I think they win it by 2 touchdowns or more. Just so dynamic, so good. They're getting their running back as well, Robinson. So I think they're going to be hitting on all cylinders. Carolina is who we thought they were, an organization that's trying to find itself.
Mhm.
So Andy Dalton, although he's looked better, hasn't been getting the job done. So, how much longer are they going to keep him out there? I don't know, but this isn't not a good matchup for Carolina in
Right,
general. And
right,
Washington, it coming into this game 4-2, they're going to be 5-2. I mean, not many people saw that coming. That's for sure.
right. I mean, I think I said it in the offseason. They played good football last year, the first 9 games. The ownership
And then fell off.
changed, and then
That's
they just
right.
fell off, and I think they lost like 8 in a row, or so. It was crazy. But they were playing pretty good football the first half of the season last year. Just need a new quarterback. Then to Carolina, though, it's like now you're looking at, okay, looks like number 1 pick again. Do you take a shot at a quarterback? You pull the old Arizona trick, right?
Yeah.
That's an interesting
Go for
conversation.
another
But
one.
yeah, I think we're both on the Commanders for this one. All right, Raiders at the Rams, the old LA showdown. Raiders
Haha.
+7 at the Rams.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I think this is a tough game to call, but again, Vegas moving on from Devontae Adams, the Rams likely getting Cooper Kupp back. I think that is the X factor for me in this game because these teams are pretty evenly matched. Neither one has been able to show a lot. 3 wins between them total, right? But I think the Rams, with the fact that getting Kupp back and they're going in the right direction in terms of their offense, I'll take that 7 points for the Rams. I think the Rams win it, by a touchdown or so. So 28-20, let's say. So give me the Rams.
Yeah, I like the Rams too. And I just think when you're looking at the quarterbacks, like you just trust Matt Stafford to make some plays, whereas
Mm-hmm.
the Raiders haven't shown the ability to do that, right? They're almost forced to run the football, and they can't really figure that out either. So I like the Rams. At least I know they can move the football with Sean McVay and Stafford. I really don't know if the Raiders can do that at this
Yeah.
point. So
Yeah.
I trust the Rams in that one. All right, Super Bowl rematch: Kansas City Chiefs +2 going to San Francisco. I mean, what comes to mind is last time they went to San Francisco, they won 44-13 or something crazy like that. So that comes to mind for me. So I would pick Kansas City. How about you?
I'm picking San Francisco just out of spite, I think, because I mean, just looking at team wise, you'd pick Kansas City, right? Because Kansas City always wins, but San Francisco has the better roster all around. They have the better, offensive weapons. Their defense is on par, I think. So Kansas City might have a slight edge on defense, but in terms of offense, 49ers are light years ahead of where Kansas City is right now. And will that translate to the field? I'm not so sure, but I do think being at home, having something to prove, the 49ers are going to find a way to win this game. So give me the 49ers.
Chiefs coming off the bye. Juju Smith-Schuster hits the injury report, hamstring this week. Yeah, I see what you're saying, but I mean,
it's tough
Chiefs
to pick against the Chiefs.
Coming off a bye, Andy Reid coming off the bye, just that
Yep.
40 years of offensive play calling experience. I just can't pick against them in this one. All right, Jets at Steelers. Jets -2 going to Pittsburgh. We have Devontae Adams, right? That's new for the Jets. I thought their offense moved the ball good last week. We also have rumors that Russell Wilson's getting a start for Pittsburgh.
Yeah, we'll see there. I don't love that for Pittsburgh, but their offense has not been, blowing it out of the park by any means. This is a really tough game to pick just because the Jets have been a dumpster fire and I don't trust them. The Steelers have been very consistent on defense, but now, Devontae Adams coming in is an X factor that you have to take into play here. So I'm taking the Steelers with the points. I think it ends up being a low scoring, close game. So give me the Steelers. They're at home, so they're going to play tough. That crowd isn't going to be Jets fans. So give me that pressure to come through, and the Jets to jet again after making a big play in making a big trade. They fall on their face yet again to a Steelers team.
Right. No, I agree. The Jets are absolutely talented on paper, but it is a circus when it comes to team chemistry, right? Now you had Lazard. Now you have Devontae Adams. They're going to want to run the Green Bay offense from back in the day,
Yes.
right? And there's no real who's the leader. Okay, well, the interim coach. I mean, is he really? Nathaniel Hackett's on the sideline now. It just seems like a circus at this point. So the Steelers are not an easy team to go to Pittsburgh and get a win when you're really, trying to resurrect the Green Bay offense. I just don't see it. I like Pittsburgh's defense in this one. So yeah, Steelers 5-2, didn't see that coming. Jets 2-5. Didn't see that coming either, right?
Oh, I did. Yeah. Oh, hell yeah, I did. I predicted that.
We'll let it play out, but yeah, that'd be shocking.
Yes. And, we'll see. We'll see with that game. I'm not confident in the Steelers' ability to score points. So if you told me it ends up being 10-9 Jets, then I'm going to be pissed off because it's just, the Steelers couldn't get it done. But
yeah, that's fair. I mean, but that Steelers defense, man, they're tough.
Yeah, so I like it. Yeah, that's why I picked them.
Ravens, Buccaneers. Ravens -3.5 at Tampa Bay. I don't think we're giving Tampa Bay enough credit. 4-2. Defense is getting healthy now. I mean, they're They
Agreed.
seem to be building there, right?
So I would say right off the bat, I'm taking Tampa with the points for that reason. You said it, right? Plus 3.5. I think this is a 3-point game either way. So 3.5, give me the Bucks all the way. I actually think they have a chance to win this. It's at their home turf, right? The Ravens have looked vulnerable. Everybody's crowning them yet again. I don't think they're watching the games. Like I've watched these Ravens games and I've been like, damn, they're 1 or 2 plays away from losing these types of games. I mean, just think about the Cincinnati game. Cincinnati screws up and allows Baltimore to win. They'd be 3-3. People would be having a totally different conversation. I'm not crowning them, that's for sure. Remember, I had them missing the playoffs. So I'll take the Bucks to win this game at home against the Ravens. And with the points, I love it.
Okay, I mean, I'd go Bucks, but I just feel like the Ravens defense, man, Roquan Smith, big corners, right? I feel like the advantage the Bucks have is Mike Evans, big body, right? Chris Godwin, big body. That's not as effective when you're playing the Ravens. So I think that's going to be a struggle. And the Bucks really like their running game's been better this year, but can they rely on it for a full game? I don't think so. But I do think the Ravens can wear them down with Derrick Henry, open up Zay Flowers. I think that's a tough matchup. So I like for the Bucks. So I like the Ravens in this one on the road. All right, Monday Night Football, Chargers at Cardinals. Chargers minus 2.5 at the Arizona Cardinals. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is back for this one. I think Jim Harbaugh is back for this one.
This is yes. So yeah, right. Jim Harbaugh. Jeez, that was a scary thing to happen, right?
Right.
I think this is another game that could go either way. Hence why the point spread is close. But I think the Chargers actually have momentum coming into this game, which is weird to say. Also, gotta love the NFL, man. I'm taking the Chargers to win by a field goal. You know, I'm not expecting either offense to suddenly blow up and become something they aren't. But you know, a 20-17 type of game in my mind. But give me the Chargers to be the winner.
Just taking a quick look. Who have the Chargers beat? Broncos, Panthers, Raiders.
It's bad teams, and the
Right,
Cardinals are on par with that. So I would say
I don't know. Are the Cardinals bad? I mean,
it's hard to
they
tell.
should
1
be
week
good,
they
but
look
they're
terrible.
right.
Next week they look great. You know?
Right. And it's not like there's huge home field advantage here. These cities are pretty close. You know what I mean? So yeah, I just like the Chargers. I think they're well coached. They know who they are, and I feel like I said the Chargers, right? I picked the Chargers.
Yeah.
The Cardinals. I feel like they're still trying to find their identity. Right. It's not real clear. Chargers know who they are, what they want to be. So I think that prevails in this game. So give me the Chargers.
Love it.
Yeah, you can say Charger, Cardinal about 5 times. You'll get confused.
Yeah, right. Charger, Cardinal, Charger.
yeah. All right, that's what we got. Bills Sunday at 1. And feeling good. Excited
time.
to see Amari Cooper, number 18, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Bringing back the old 18. Reminds me of Andre Holmes.
I think Bills fans are going to like him a lot because he's a get the job done type of guy. He's not like a, diva wide receiver or anything. He just goes out there and does what he does. And he's never been billed as like one of the top guys in the NFL, but remarkably consistent through his career.
Right.
If you look at the numbers and everything. So
it's
looking forward to what he's going to do with Josh Allen.
You think a guy like that would be on the same team his whole career? This is now his 4th team.
Yeah.
Right. So, interesting. Just the way of the NFL.
And traded 3 times, right? Never signed as a free agent. Traded.
Right. Well, probably because he demands a high price tag. He's been good.
Yeah.
He's been good everywhere he went, right?
Consistent. That matters,
So we'll see if he's on a 5th team next year. Are the Bills going to pay him? I don't know.
I don't know that that's the direction this is going. I've always said that I think the Bills are going to sign a big free agent wide receiver this next offseason. Not like top guy who's going to get $30 million or something, but I think they're going to bring somebody in. And certainly it could be Cooper, but I think they want to go a little younger, a little more,
Right. And maybe Cooper's learned some hard lessons. Like, okay, he was good with Dak. He was good with Derek Carr, but when you play with Deshaun, it wasn't as good. Like the importance of quarterback, would he be willing to take less money to stay with Josh Allen? That's the selling point, right? So that's something to keep an eye on. And, that's going to be really fun to watch the rest of the year. So it's a good move at the right time. It's going to be a lot of fun moving forward. So
love it.
That's all we got.
Yeah.
Tune in next week.
Bills, baby.
Same time. And we'll be getting you ready. Who the Bills play next week? The Colts.
Absolutely. Making our way through that division now.
Right. So enjoy your Sunday, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks for kicking it with us. Go Bills.